Millionaire comes home at 3 a.m. to find his son's shocking new maid. What happens next? The moon hung low in a sea of silver, casting a ghostly glow on the sprawling mansion. At 3 a.m., the air was thick with secrets. Jack Donnelly, the man who built his empire from nothing, slipped through the grand entrance, heart pounding in his chest. Something felt off. The usually vibrant home lay in eerie silence. He had just returned from a business trip more than 1,000 miles away, and instead of the warm embrace of his family, dread seeped into his bones. As he stepped further inside, shadows danced like phantoms along the walls. Jack stopped in the foyer, an unsettling feeling gripping him. His son, Theo, should have been asleep, dreams filling his young mind. But the house hummed with an unsettling tension. He could hear something faint, a whisper of laughter, light and innocent, yet utterly foreign. His chest tightened. Since when did anyone else occupy this space after hours? He followed the sound down the hallway, each step echoing the pounding in his head. His eyes landed on the living room, where dim light flickered. There she was, a woman he'd never seen before, moving gracefully between the shadows. She wore a striking crimson dress that looked too bold for the quiet of night. How had she gotten in? The unmistakable scent of lavender permeated the air and sent a shiver down his spine. Jack caught sight of Theo, his small frame cozy on the couch, oblivious to the stranger beside him. The woman's long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, as she brushed her fingers against Theo's forehead, a maternal touch that sent a wave of protectiveness surging through him. Who was this woman? Why was she in his home? He took a step closer, and an unnatural chill swept through the room. The laughter slipped into silence, and the mysterious woman turned sharply to meet his gaze. Time froze. Her eyes, deep and unfathomable, seemed to pierce through him, igniting a strange mix of fear and intrigue. He felt his heart race faster, like a runaway train, as questions filled his mind. Who are you? He finally managed to stammer, his voice barely above a whisper, trembling with urgency. She smiled, a slow, enigmatic smile that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew. It was unsettling yet captivating. Suddenly, a series of sharp footsteps echoed behind him. The house felt alive, as if it were a participant in a dark drama, ready to unravel secrets buried deep within its walls. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jack felt the urgency pulse in his veins as he waited for her response. The front door creaked open, revealing the faint outline of someone stepping inside. His heart lurched. Was it just the wind, or was this woman somehow connected to that intrusion? The room had become a powder keg of emotions. Did you really think you could just leave me? The new figure spoke, voice laced with venom and pain. Jack's eyes darted between the two, confusion and dread washing over him. What had he walked into? The night had turned into a tangled web of danger, mystery, and shocking revelations, leaving him teetering on the edge of a knife. What would come next? Jack's heart thundered as he spun around to face the new figure. The man stood casually in the doorway, a tall silhouette framed by the moonlight spilling into the house. There was an aura to him, dangerous, unpredictable, like a coiled snake ready to strike. Who the hell are you? Jack's voice came out sharp, tinged with an edge of fury he barely recognized as his own. The man smirked, revealing a row of pearly white teeth that contrasted with the darkness that surrounded him. You really don't remember me, do you? Jack's mind raced. The stranger's features seemed vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place where he had seen him before. Panic fluttered in his chest as he glanced back at the woman in red, her expression unreadable. Did she know him? Was she in league with this intruder? You shouldn't have come back, the man said, casually stepping into the room as if he owned the place. Not after everything you left behind. Jack felt a surge of anger. I don't know what you're talking about. You're in my house. You need to leave now. The man chuckled, a dark, unsettling sound that filled the space between them. Your house. Do you think that matters anymore? You've built a kingdom on lies, Jack. And it's only a matter of time before it all comes crumbling down. Something about his words sent a chill down Jack's spine. Shadows flickered at the edges of the room, closing in like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jack's mind scrambled, trying to make sense of the threat woven through the man's taunts. Touch my son, and I swear your son. The man interrupted, his gaze flicking to Theo, still peacefully sunk into the couch, blissfully unaware of the mounting tension. You're really giving me a reason to smile tonight, Jack. You've made so many enemies even within your own family. The woman in red shifted, tension coiling in her body like a tightly wound spring. She slowly moved to position herself between Theo and the intruder. You shouldn't be here, she warned, her voice low and fierce. Leave him out of this. The intruder's eyes glittered with amusement at her defiance. Feisty. I like it. But let's face it, you're just a new player in an old game. He took another step forward, his confidence saturating the room. Jack felt an instinct to protect but also a hesitance he couldn't shake. The woman's defiance was admirable, yet he couldn't trust her either. Who was she really? And what secrets lay hidden at the foundation of their home? What do you want? Jack blurted, desperation creeping into his tone. The man's smile widened, as if he had just won a thrilling game. Oh, I think you already know the answer. I want what you took from me. A reckoning is overdue. The air crackled with tension. Jack's eyes darted around the room, searching for options. What could he do to protect Theo? Every breath felt like stepping on a tightrope suspended over a pit of uncertainty. At that moment, Theo shifted slightly on the couch, mumbling something in his sleep. The sound broke the spell of tension, making the man pause. Jack seized the opportunity, stepping protectively in front of his son. Get out! He shouted, the primal instinct to defend his family pushing him forward, but the intruder merely laughed, a sound that sliced through the air like ice. Very well, but consider this a warning. I'll be back, Jack. And when I return, everything will change. With those parting words, he turned, retreating into the night, the door swinging closed behind him. The tension hung in the air, leaving Jack breathless. But as he stood there, the echoes of the man's threats still ringing in his ears, he realized it wasn't over. Deep inside, he felt the earth shifting under him. What did he mean? Jack turned to the woman, the weight of unanswered questions pushing him toward her. But before he could voice them, she stepped back, her expression clouded. I can't reveal everything, Jack. But know this: your life will never be the same. The gravity of her words sank into him, and fear churned in his gut. What kind of truth was she hiding? Who had been let loose into their lives? As the eerie silence settled over the mansion, Jack faced the uncertainty ahead. He had stepped into a storm, and there would be no turning back. What other secrets lay in wait? Jack's heart raced, a drumbeat of anxiety echoing in his ears as he stared at the woman in red. What truth was she holding back? The shadows of the room felt thicker now, the air stifling his thoughts. He reached for the edge of the couch, gripping it like a lifeline. Who is he? What did he mean by all of that? His voice trembled, betraying the facade of calm he desperately tried to maintain. The woman hesitated, her eyes darting away, deep in thought. For a moment, Jack felt her fear, a palpable thing that hung in the air between them. You think you can just walk away from your past? It doesn't work that way. What do you know about my past? Jack demanded, the fire of his anger surging again. He stepped closer, fighting the growing dread. You still haven't told me who you are. I'm not your enemy, Jack, she said softly, almost pleading. But you need to understand everything you've built is in danger. That man he's not just a name on your list of enemies. Jack felt a chill race down his spine. Hate swelled within him, battling the urge to trust this mysterious woman. Tell me what is going on. His tone brooked no argument. Or I will find out myself. Her lips pressed into a thin line before she sighed, as if dragging up the weight of a long-buried secret. Fine, but you have to promise you'll listen. Grudgingly, he nodded, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. Okay. He was part of a life you chose to leave behind, she began, her voice lower now, a chorus of secrets spilling from her lips. A connection to the darkness you turned your back on, a darkness you still owe. What does that even mean? Jack's pulse hammered in his ears. Every word felt like stepping deeper into quicksand. People got hurt because of you, because of your choices. And now they want revenge. This man, he's one of them. Her voice quivered as she added, and he's been watching you. A wave of disbelief crashed over him, sending a shudder through his core. Watching? Jack's throat went dry. Why hadn't he seen it before? The strange occurrences, the feelings of dread creeping in whenever he felt comfortable. The flicker of shadows in the corners of his life. So, what? You're just here to warn me. Jack's tone turned bitter. Why should I trust you? I'm not just a new maid, she shot back, a spark igniting in her eyes. I'm here because I have my own reasons for wanting to protect you from that man and from the choices you've made. The choices I've made or the ones I'm still making. The weight of her accusation hung heavy between them. She shifted, her eyes momentarily glancing at Theo, still asleep on the couch, blissfully unaware of the collapsing world around him. He's in danger too. We both are. You have to find the truth about your past before it comes back to haunt you. What truth? He felt like his head was spinning. Every question built a web he couldn't escape. How can I do that? You need to start by connecting the dots between your past and your present. A soft, painful look crossed her face. You can't run forever, Jack. Frustration bubbled up in him. I've run this far and built this life. I can't just let it fall apart because of some ghost from my past. Jack, she said gently, her voice breaking his resolve. What do you think that man meant when he said everything would change? The ground beneath him felt like it was shifting, unraveling with each word. He won't take my family, Jack said, his jaw clenched. I won't let that happen. I'll do whatever it takes. Then we need a plan, she replied, her fierce stare locking onto his. Because whoever he's not going to wait for you to catch up. The reality of their situation washed over him like ice water. He had to get ahead of this storm before it swept them all away. As the enormity of their predicament settled in, a sudden noise echoed through the stillness of the house, a soft thud, then silence. Jack spun toward the sound, adrenaline kicking his senses into high gear. What was that? Stay close to me, the woman warned, her eyes narrowing. They both turned toward the hallway, each heartbeat drumming and urgent. Tattoo in the tense air. Anything could be lurking just beyond the shadows. What new threat awaited them in the dark? The hallway stretched out before them, its dim light flickering like a dying flame. Every shadow felt alive, crawling with danger. Jack was hyper-aware of the thumping of his heart as he cautiously edged forward, side by side with the woman in red. Do you think someone is here? He whispered, barely able to keep the fear from his voice. She nodded, eyes still focused ahead. We need to be quiet. It could be him. Jack's stomach twisted. The realization that the threat was real set his nerves alight, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted. Who is he? Jack asked, needing clarity, the raw truth unraveling within him. What does he want? He wants revenge, she replied tersely. Revenge for what happened before you left that life behind. Stop saying that. Jack snapped, panic simmering at the edges of his voice. Just tell me. Breath quickening, she took a deep inhale. He lost everything because of you, Jack. And he's not going to stop until he has what he lost. Those words struck deep, igniting the flickering embers of regret he'd long buried. Jack's mind flooded with memories, faces, places, choices that he thought were behind him. Bitterness mixed with fear and shame coiled tight in his chest. Another sound came from the hallway, this time it was louder, a soft footfall, the unmistakable sound of someone shifting in the darkness. Jack's body tensed, his instincts screamed at him to run, or fight. You have to keep Theo safe, the woman said, urgency dripping from every word. He's the target. They'll use him to get to you. Theo. Jack's heart sank. He pushed the thought of his son into the forefront of his mind, the viscerally urgent need to protect him snapping any lingering doubts in two. I'll do whatever it takes. Steeling himself, Jack moved forward, the weight of the woman's words heavy on his shoulders. He reached the end of the hallway where the noise seemed to be coming from. The air was thick, suffocating, and the quiet felt alive, buzzing around him. Stay here, he instructed her, taking the lead. She opened her mouth to protest, but Jack turned to her, his eyes fierce. I need to check on him. Jack's feet padded softly against the floor as he approached Theo's bedroom. He could see the faint glow of the nightlight spilling from the cracked door, outlining the silhouette of his son. Then an unexpected sound shattered the silence, a sharp intake of breath behind him. He spun around to find the woman in red sidling up to him, but before he could react, the front door creaked open, revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. A tall man stepped inside, his presence imposing and familiar. Jack's gut twisted in recognition. The worst kind of dread washed over him. Jack, I've been waiting for you, the man said, a chilling smile spreading across his face. Time seemed to freeze. Jack's thoughts raced, but his body felt like lead. This was the man from the shadows, the threat that loomed over his little family. Jack's instincts screamed at him to protect Theo, but could he confront this danger head-on, or was it already too late? Get back! The woman shouted, pushing Jack with surprising force. The moment broke, chaos unraveling through the air, and everything went dark. Jack felt his heart thunder in the silence that fell like a curtain. What kind of confrontation awaited them now? Would he stand a chance against the shadows of his past? But then he heard the faint sound of Theo stirring from his sleep, and that changed everything. Would they make it out unscathed in this battle of survival? And as the darkness gathered around them, one question screamed in the stillness: could Jack confront his own ghosts before they destroyed everything he cherished? Jack's heart raced, a wild drumbeat pounding in his ears. The voice of the man in darkness echoed around the room, each word sending a jolt of ice through his veins. Every instinct told him to act, to rush to Theo, but his feet felt rooted to the ground, pinned by the weight of his fears. Are you surprised to see me? The man asked, stepping further into the room, the light barely kissing his features. It illuminated a cold smile, twisted with malice. I'm here for what's rightfully mine. Get away from us. The woman in red surged forward, positioning herself between Jack and the intruder, determination radiating from her. This isn't your place anymore. Her fierce defense sparked something within Jack. Theo's soft breaths echoed from the room behind him, reminding him of what was at stake. With an adrenaline-fueled roar, he moved alongside her, ready to stand against the shadow of his past. The man's expression darkened. You think you can protect him? You've been running from me. From the damage you've done. You can't outrun this, Jack. Shut up. Jack flared, the anger rising like a hot wave that broke through his fear. What do you want from me? The intruder's lips curled into a sneer. Revenge. But not just on you. On your family, your son, everything you hold dear. It's time to settle the score. The weight of those words settled like a storm cloud in the air. Jack felt a surge of panic. He could hear Theo stirring, the little boy's innocence caught in the crosshairs of danger. Leave my son out of this. Jack shouted, desperation coating his voice like a thick layer of panic. When Theo's soft whimper echoed from the room, Jack's heart shattered. He needed to act, to crush this man under the weight of his desire to protect. Did you think you could just walk away? The man laughed, the sound cold and mirthless. You hurt me, Jack. Now you'll watch your blood suffer the consequences of your mistakes. The woman in red shot a glance at Jack, the urgency reflected in her eyes. We can't let him get to Theo. We have to move now. But before Jack could respond, the man lunged, his movements swift and calculated. Jack reacted instinctively, stepping in front of the woman to shield her. As he did, the woman grabbed his arm, guiding him away just in time. Down! She commanded, pushing him toward the floor. They both dropped as a heavy force slammed against the wall, shattering a picture frame above them. Jack's breath caught in his throat. Caught between the chaos, he felt the crushing sense of vulnerability settle in his chest. Theo! Stay in your room! He yelled, willing his son not to step into the fray. What do you care about him? The man roared, seething. You left him to drown in your mistakes. In that moment, something shifted in Jack. Rage morphed his fear into fuel, a dark energy that he could harness. You want me? Then come and get me. As he sprung to his feet, adrenaline pumping through his veins, Jack charged the man, desperation driving his every move. The woman followed, an unyielding force by his side, but the man was ready, drawing back just as Jack reached him, twisting and turning, melding around Jack's reach like smoke. Jack could feel the sinewy strength beneath the man's facade, the danger heightened by the encounter of old grudges, but one thing was clear: the stakes had changed. It wasn't just Jack's past chasing him, it was a ghost that threatened the very fabric of his family. And as they collided in an explosion of adrenaline-fueled struggle, a thought flashed in Jack's mind: he had to end this, not just for himself but for Theo. This night wouldn't end until he put an end to the haunting cycle of vengeance, but suddenly silence. A sharp cry pierced the tension before the world went dark once again, leaving Jack grasping desperately for control. Was it Theo? The words hung in the air like a noose. What had he unleashed upon his family? Jack's heart felt like it had stopped. The silence that followed the scream was suffocating, wrapping around him like a vice. Time seemed to freeze, and he could barely breathe. Theo, he shouted again, his voice cracking with panic. The man in the shadows was focused, his expression twisted with satisfaction, as if he relished in Jack's agony. Look what you've done, the intruder sneered, stepping back, his laughter echoing like shards of glass. Aren't you just the perfect father? Fueled by a primal instinct to protect, Jack surged forward, fists clenched. But the woman in red caught his arm, pulling him back. We need to think. He's trying to provoke you. Provocation won't save your son, the man growled, his voice dripping with contempt. Let us see what your precious little boy feels when he learns the truth. Jack's stomach twisted. What truth? He spat back, each word soaked in venom as he shook off the woman's grasp. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through him, drowning out the fear, igniting his desire to end this confrontation. You don't really know, do you? The man's eyes gleamed with malice. Your little boy, all alone, without a clue about who his father really is. A rush of dread washed over Jack. The unnerving suggestion hit him like a punch to the gut. The shadows surrounding the man seemed to stretch and sway as he gestured lazily toward the doorway leading to Theo's room. Seconds felt like hours as Jack's mind raced. Could this man already have dug into his past, poisoning everything he loved? Let me pass, the woman whispered urgently, I'll check on Theo. No. Jack barked, his voice rising. You stay with me. We can't let him out of our sight. The woman's expression was steely, a flicker of determination igniting her eyes. Jack, I can intercept him. We can't let him reach Theo. Before Jack could respond, the man stepped back, opening his arms wide. Go ahead. Whichever path you choose, the outcome will be the same. His smirk seemed to grow wider. You've planted the seed of chaos. Just wait until your son understands. In a sobering moment, the world narrowed down to Jack and the man. Jack's mind reeled, battling internal chaos and the nagging fear that Theo might be caught in this storm of retribution. He fought against the rush of despair, desperate to reclaim control of the situation. Enough. I won't let you touch him. Jack shouted, his voice reverberating with the weight of his conviction. The woman shot him a quick look, then darted toward the door, drawing the man's attention. Jack! Now! She yelled as she lunged forward, forcing the man to react. In that instant, Jack took advantage of the distraction. He charged, fists flying, feeling something feral awaken inside him. The man's twisted smile faltered as Jack plowed into him, but fate turned chaotic again. With a brutal shove, the man knocked Jack off balance, sending him crashing against a table. Books and decorations toppled around him in a cacophony of chaos. Just as he steadied himself, a second cry echoed from the darkness, this one sharper, filled with sheer terror that cut through Jack's thoughts like a knife. Dad! Help! Panic gripped Jack, twisting like a vice around his chest. Theo! He yelled, the name reverberating in the heavy air. Looks like it's time to finish our little game, Jack, the man said, drawing closer as shadows swirled around him like hungry beasts waiting for a feast. After all, what fun would it be if it ended too soon? Jack pushed himself back to his feet, breathing hard, fury igniting within. I don't care what it takes, I'm coming for you. But the truth clung to the air. The man wouldn't stop until he took everything Jack held dear. The suffocating darkness closed in again, and fear clawed at Jack's throat. And suddenly, as if sensing Jack's resolve, the air shifted, a new presence materializing just beyond the threshold. What had he opened himself up to? The question lingered, a murky dread filling the room. Would Jack lose everything to the shadows of his own making? Jack felt a surge of cold panic course through him. He switched his focus from the twisted man before him to the door that led to his son's room. The sense of dread that clung so tightly to him was unbearable. The intruder's grin widened as if sensing Jack's turmoil. Every second counts, Jack. You could have protected him, but look where you are now, the man taunted, his voice slick like oil. He stepped a little closer, shadows trailing behind him, a tangible extension of his dark intentions. Get away from him! Jack roared, lunging forward again, his fists raised. But this time, he felt a weighty presence behind him. The woman in red positioned herself between Jack and the man, a steel resolve in her eyes. You won't reach him, she declared, steadying Jack with a firm grip. Let me take care of this. A part of him wanted to scream at her to stay back, but there was no time. Nightmarish visions of Theo crying out paralyzed his thoughts. No. We need to move now. Theo's voice echoed again, filled with panic, and Jack's heart shattered. He pushed around the woman, aiming for the door. The man laughed, a sound that sent a chill down Jack's spine. Go ahead, run to your son. But remember, he's about to learn everything about you. Each word bore down like a hammer, driving Jack deeper into dread. Was this monstrous figure telling the truth? What secrets from the past could ruin everything? Just beyond the door, the silence was heavy. Jack paused, breath hitching, wrestling with the fear that had gripped him. Jack! The woman pleaded, catching his arm just as he swung the door open. We can't be reckless. He's just trying to bait you. But this wasn't just some petty skirmish. This was Theo's safety. Jack shoved the door open, closing his mind to the chaos. I will protect my son. He stepped inside, and the darkness felt like a living thing, wrapping around him, whispering doubts into his ear. He could hear Theo's whimpers filtering through the room. Dad? Is that you? Theo's quavering voice reached him, and Jack's heart sank even lower. Yes. I'm right here. He shouted, panic clawing at his voice. Then he saw him, Theo, crouched in the corner of the room, eyes wide, expression stricken with terror. His shock turned to relief until cold fear washed over him when Jack caught a glimpse of something else, an object glinting near the boy's feet. "Get back!" Jack shouted as he took a cautious step forward. The noise of chaos surged back, the woman in red shouting, panic bubbling. "It's a trap, Jack! Don't!" Jack didn't he listen. Driven by sheer terror, he lunged for Theo, but before he could reach him, the object began to glow, illuminating the room in suffocating brightness. "Stop!" The man's voice rang out, like thunder but strangely powerful, as the light radiated and shadows danced erratically throughout the space. Jack felt a force push against him, sending him stumbling backward, colliding against the wall. The sensation of vulnerability flooded him, a throbbing fear that he might lose everything in an instant. "No!" he gasped, bracing himself as he looked towards his son, who floundered under the brightness, confusion painting his young face. In that moment of terrible clarity, Jack realized he had to fight against the darkness, not just for himself but for Theo and everything they had built together. "Stay close, buddy," he called, determination reigniting a flicker of hope inside him. As the man stepped deeper into the room, the shadows became frantic, swirling like a tempest. "You think you can save him? The truth is your son's greatest enemy." Jack hesitated, the weight of those words pressing down like lead. Was he prepared to face the truth of who he was? The past he had buried? The man's laughter echoed around him, a sound that promised chaos and despair. Suddenly, Jack noticed the woman had fallen back, her own battle with the shadows leaving her vulnerable. "Let's see what you're made of, Jack." The man seemed unfazed by the turmoil swirling around him, as if he were orchestrating a dance of madness. Jack braced himself, heart pounding. He would fight not just for Theo's safety but for redemption from the darkness threatening to swallow them whole. But as he surged forward again, determination ignited within him like a flame in the dark. He felt another presence, stronger and darker than before, closing in around the edges of his reality. What had he opened himself up to, and could he protect his family from the very shadows of his past? The thought lingered like a ghost who would emerge from this confrontation. The stakes were raised significantly, the battle was only just beginning. What truths would be unveiled, and at what cost? The room pulsated with chaos, shadows erupting in a pandemonium of grotesque forms as the blinding light continued to douse the space like a tidal wave. Jack could feel the energy coiling tightly around him, a mixture of desperation and rage igniting every nerve in his body. "Stay away from him!" Jack screamed, forcing himself towards Theo, bursting forward despite the suffocating weight behind him. He could see the boy cowering, wide-eyed and helpless, caught in the grip of an otherworldly light that flickered like a dying star. Theo's voice was a strained whisper. "Dad, help me!" The little boy's eyes were filled with more fear than Jack had ever seen, striking deep into the father's heart. Just then, the man lunged forward, his grin like sharp ice. "Don't you see? Truth is power, Jack," he shouted, his voice reverberating with darkness. "And you've buried your truth so deep, it festers. It's only a matter of time before it all spills out." A gust of wind swirled around Jack, trying to pull him backward. The woman in red shouted warnings, but her voice felt distant, drowned in the roar of his own heartbeat. Jack couldn't think about her right now. He pushed on, every fiber of his being focused solely on his son. With a fierce cry, Jack lunged, grasping for Theo's small frame. He felt the pulse of the light burning at his fingertips, an otherworldly heat that threatened to consume him, yet he pressed forward. "Trust me. I'm here," he called again, his voice cracking under the weight of their shattered world. Suddenly, the man before him transformed before Jack's eyes, the laughter distorting into something raw and violent, a gaping maw that felt as if it could swallow the very essence of light. The shadows twisted and converged, revealing something far worse, a mirror reflecting Jack's own face, distorted and ghastly. "Look at yourself," the man howled, pointing a twisted finger. "What kind of father hides from the truth? What have you done?" Jack felt bile rise in his throat, reality wobbling beneath him. He de-shielded Theo from the past, kept dark truths buried, thinking himself a good father, a protector. But what if this man was right? The looming horrors were awakening. He fought against the nausea settling in his gut, focused on Theo's small frame trembling before him. He couldn't let this nightmare take him, too. "Get close to me!" Jack yelled, desperation infusing his voice, and from the corner of his eye, he saw the woman in red battling the shadows that lunged at her, swiping like claws through the air. Then, without warning, a shattering crack rang through the air, and Jack turned just in time to see the doorway behind him fissure like glass, revealing dark shapes gathering outside. The contours of their bodies flickered, oozing with malice. "More are coming, Jack," she shouted, her voice drenched in urgency. "We need to face him together. Only together can we fight this." Jack's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through him like a live wire. He wasn't just battling a man, he was forced to confront the monsters of his past, shadows that fed on his guilt and fear. Could he face them and save his son? "Together," he echoed, locking his gaze with hers, a flicker of connection amidst the chaos. "Now, Jack," she urged. At that moment, Jack understood, a battle wasn't just built on strength, it was woven through trust. He could no longer wallow in isolation. He had to fight alongside the woman who had stepped into his darkness. With renewed strength, Jack surged forward, reaching for Theo. A bond was forming, a silent understanding that together, they could face the hazy figures encroaching around them. He felt a warmth spreading within him, pushing back the frigid pull of dread. As their hands connected, the shadows screamed, melting into the floor as if fleeing from the incandescent glow of their unity, but then, just as he breathed a sigh of relief, the man, still lurking, hissed, "You think this changes anything? The truth isn't finished with you yet, your past is right behind you." Jack turned, just in time to see the shadows morph, diverging to reveal haunting figures from his past faces he had tried so desperately to forget. Each one bore witness to the secrets he thought he had buried for good, challenging him to confront the ghosts that loomed. Would he succumb to despair, or would he rise with the promise of protection for his son? A storm of emotions churned within him as the shadows drew closer, whispering torment. The moment hung heavy, pregnant with uncertainty as Jack realized the battle truly had just begun. What unspeakable truths lay within those shadows, and could Jack break free before they consumed everything he loved? The air tightened around Jack as he faced the swirling shadows, each face looming like a spectral reminder of his pain. Silence fell heavy, every heartbeat echoed like a war drum, urging him to act. He had to stand tall, not just for himself but for Theo. "Stay close, buddy," Jack commanded, and Theo instinctively clutched his father's hand, the small warmth grounding him amidst the chaos. The woman in red surged forward, brandishing a shimmering blade that sliced through the encroaching darkness. "You have to confront them, Jack. It's the only way." Her voice cut through the howling wind, sparking something deep within him. Did he really have a choice? The shadows trembled closer as his old demons beckoned. An unsettling chill crawled up Jack's spine. He had buried those memories, convinced they wouldn't return. But here they were, and they were hungry. Each face that emerged carried sharp edges, their eyes hollow, piercing through the veil he'd carefully crafted. A woman with tear-streaked cheeks seemed to reach out. "You abandoned me," she mouthed, though no sound echoed. Another faced him, a man with fury etched into his features. "You let us down," he snarled. Jack's breath hitched, guilt flooding back like a tide. "No," he shouted, turning away as waves of shame threatened to pull him under. "I didn't mean to. I was trying to protect him." "Protect him from what?" the man in the shadows hissed. "Your truth. Or your weakness?" Theo squeezed Jack's hand, a small act of bravery that pulled him back. The warmth between them ignited a spark of defiance. Jack turned back to the figures, breathing heavily, feeling strength he didn't know he had. "Enough!" he roared, confronting their faces of pain and anger. But as those words escaped his lips, the shadows flickered and morphed, swirling like a vicious storm. Painful memories blossomed into more figures, each carrying a story of hurt, betrayal, and regret. They pressed in, and Jack could feel himself faltering, the weight of everything crashing down. "Fight them!" the woman in red cried, her voice steely despite the chaos surrounding them. "You have the power to reshape them. Your unity with Theo shields you. Use it." Jack felt that bond, grown strong from sleepless nights and whispered fears. He looked down at Theo, seeing a reflection of hope in his son's wide eyes. This was no longer just about his past, it was about their future. In an instant, Jack tightened his grip on Theo's hand, drawing on all the love and determination he could muster. "You aren't my weakness," he shouted, targeting the closest shadow. "You're my strength." The shadows recoiled as if stung, and for a moment, hesitation rippled through them. Jack felt energy surge through him, a brightness igniting against the dim behind him. The faces twisted in shock, their wails turning to shrieks of fury. But then, as quickly as the light surged, a new voice broke through, deep, sinister, and dripping with malice. "You think you can escape your truth, Jack? Your past waits to devour you." Jack's heart sank as he spun around to confront the speaker, the man standing in the doorway, an ominous silhouette against the flickering chaos. His grin was sharp and knowing, a predator closing in for the kill. "What do you want?" Jack demanded, but each word felt like a feeble protest against the tide washing over him. "Nothing more than to offer you a deal." The man's voice slithered through the room, chilling Jack to the bone. "Face your ghosts, or let me take your boy instead." The blood drained from Jack's face, icy fear taking hold. Could he gamble his son's safety against the horrors of his past? Staring into the wicked eyes of that man, who spoke with the certainty of fate, Jack faltered. But then, in Theo's gaze, he found a flicker of the resolve they needed. Was he truly ready to fight his worst nightmares head-on, or would the shadows ensnare them both? One heartbeat, one moment of hesitation could change everything, and that decision loomed like an impending storm. Would Jack risk everything to reclaim his truth, or would he collapse beneath the weight of his haunting past? A breath caught in Jack's throat as he faced the man in the doorway, realization hitting him hard. This confrontation wouldn't just expose his past, it would threaten everything. Behind him, the shadows roared, writhing in agony as they tried to push into the dwindling light surrounding him and Theo. The man's expression hardened, twisting into something predatory. "You know, this could be a beautiful ending, Jack. Just hand him over, and we can finally put all those old ghosts to rest." His voice oozed mockery, weaving fear into Jack's heart. "No." The scream broke from Jack's lips before he could think. "I won't let you touch him." The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, stealing his resolve. He took a step forward, a surge of defiance swelling inside him as Theo's hand tightened in his. "You think strength comes from denial?" The man sneered, dark energy curling around him as if it were an extension of his will. "You can't outrun your past, Jack. You can't protect him from the truth." Shadows closed around them, swirling, whispering all the secrets Jack thought long buried. Memories emerged, moments of pain, choices made in desperation, regrets sharpened like daggers. He felt a sick twisting in his stomach. But then he looked down at Theo and remembered the love they shared, a love forged in hours spent together playing silly games and laughter, the kind of bond that could withstand the darkest of storms. Jack's heart raced, a resolve flooding him with strength unyielding. "No more running," he declared, raising his chin defiantly. "You want the truth? Let us bring it to the light." With a swift motion, he drew Theo closer, their connection illuminating the darkness around them. The shadows shrank back, hissing in frustration. The man took a step forward, his smirk fading. "You think a childish display of affection will save you?" "This isn't just affection," Jack shouted, the words clawing out of him like they had a life of their own. "This is the truth. Theo is my future, the life I chose this time. You can't take that away." In that moment, Jack felt something shift within him, a potent force rising where fear once clung like a shadow. "You want to play a game? Let us play," he challenged, eyes fierce. "But I want to lose my son. I want to lose myself again." The man's face twisted, surprise dancing with anger. "Fool! The light can't shut up!" Jack roared, the exclamation piercing through the darkness. The radiance of his love for Theo burst forth, illuminating the shadows, scattering them momentarily. The man reeled, revealing vulnerability for the first time. "I will confront my ghosts, but I'll do it on my own terms." The shadows recoiled, and with a fierce determination, Jack charged forward, taking the fight directly to the heart of chaos, pulling Theo in tightly. The man's grip on the shadows slipped the moment Jack took that bold step. They began to unravel around him, disintegrating like cold smoke into the air. "Together!" Jack cried, looking at the woman in red, who stood riveted alongside him. Their hands clasped together in unity, burning bright against the encroaching night. They radiated a force that started to shift the battlefield, erasing the boundaries between them and the dark. "You're not alone in this," she shouted, wielding her shimmering blade, striking at the dark figures lingering on the edges. Together, they drove the shadows back, then without warning, the man lunged at them, desperation reflected in his wild gaze. "You'll regret this," he hissed, attacking with fury. But as he thrust toward Jack and Theo, for the first time, Jack felt unyielding strength course through him, anchoring him against despair. "No!" Jack shouted again, stepping forward boldly. "You don't get to control this anymore." Using all of his emotions, his love, his regrets, his past, he thrust his own arm forward, pushing back against the tide of darkness closing in. Light erupted from the very depths of his heart, bursting forth like a dawn breaking after the longest night. The energy flowed, wrapping around Theo and the woman in red, melding together in a final protective surge that pierced through the oppressive shadows. "Jack!" Theo cried out with childlike wonder as the brilliance enveloped them, holding them warm against the shackles of the past. In that instant, Jack knew the shadows were losing their grip. The truth would finally be spoken, issued from a place of love and redemption instead of fear. Everything he had hidden and tried to forget was coming to light, but this time, he was ready. The man shrieked as the light scorched through him, the shadows in retreat, gnashing their teeth in a frenzy. He faltered in the radiance of newfound strength. "This isn't over." He screamed, but Jack felt a shift, his power slipping away. Jack gripped Theo tighter, the warmth blossoming between them, radiating tenderness and resolve. The darkness melted, screaming as it shrank back into the void, unable to withstand the twin forces of love and courage. Each figure Jack had once feared faded into nothingness, echoes of an old life that would no longer haunt him. When the last of the shadows dissolved, a sickening silence filled the room. Jack held his breath, threatening tears of joy glimmering in his eyes. He turned to Theo, who stood glowing, eyes wide and filled with love. "Dad?" Theo whispered, looking up at Jack with eyes that resembled his own, the gentle warmth soothing against the bitterness they had faced. Jack smiled, relief flooding through him. "It's all right, buddy," he whispered through the tightness in his throat, kneeling down to wrap his arms around Theo. "You're safe. We're safe." The woman in red stepped forward, her gaze softening as she regarded the bond between father and son. "You faced it and emerged stronger, Jack. You stood for what mattered most." Jack looked up, understanding washing over him in waves. "You helped me battle through this, didn't you? You believed in me." She smiled, genuine and bright. "You did it. You fought for your truth. And in saving yourself, you saved Theo." As the weight of the night melted away, Jack held on to Theo, knowing they were no longer prisoners of the past. They embraced their future, the new journey illuminated by the brilliant light of love, truths welcomed, and darkness dispelled. With a deep breath, they stepped forward together, ready to begin anew, their faith in each other shining brighter than any shadows left behind, and just like that, the storm passed. As dawn light spilled through the window, bathing them in a warm glow, Jack knew the journey would continue, but this time, they would face it together, without fear, but with hope. Remember to empower yourself and those you love by not missing a moment of excitement and revelation. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more people. Your support is crucial to us. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to know what you think. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to show your support and keep the stories coming. This is the moment to connect.